Tragic collision between passenger plane and U.S. Army helicopter in Washington, D.C. Full report on the evening of Wednesday, January 29, 2025. A devastating collision between a passenger plane and a U.S. Army helicopter took place over Washington, D.C., resulting in both aircraft crashing into the Potomac River. Authorities and emergency response teams immediately launched a massive rescue and recovery operation, though hopes for survivors remain grim. As of now, 18 bodies have been recovered from the icy waters, and the search continues. The crash occurred around 9 p.m. local time, 2 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, when a PSA Airlines jet, operating as American Airlines Flight 5342, collided midair with a Sikorsky H-60 helicopter belonging to the U.S. Army. The two aircraft were both nearing Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, a major hub for the region. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, FAA, the passenger plane, a Bombardier CRJ-700, was arriving from Wichita, Kansas, with 60 passengers and 4 crew members on board. The military helicopter, a Sikorsky H-60, had taken off from Fort Belvoir, Virginia, and was reportedly on a training mission at the time of the accident. There were 3 U.S. soldiers aboard the helicopter, all of whom are feared to have perished in the crash. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser confirmed that the helicopter was part of B Company, 12th Aviation Battalion, and that it had been engaged in a training flight. The collision was catastrophic. Witnesses and early reports described the plane as having split in half upon impact with the river. The helicopter was seen upside down in the water. With both aircraft severely damaged, rescue teams have been working tirelessly under perilous conditions to recover bodies and search for survivors. However, officials have expressed doubts about the possibility of finding any survivors, as the crash site is located in a remote area of the Potomac River, with limited access. Search and rescue operations. The rescue operation has been complicated by difficult weather conditions, including freezing temperatures, strong winds, and pieces of ice floating on the river. These factors have made it challenging for emergency responders to safely conduct their search, though the team remains committed to recovering any remaining victims. Approximately 300 emergency responders, including fire and rescue teams, have been dispatched to the crash site. They are using rubber boats and other specialized equipment to navigate the icy waters and search for any survivors or additional victims. According to Washington, D.C. Fire and Emergency Services Chief John Donnelly, the situation is extremely challenging, with dangerous environmental factors complicating their work. The challenge is access. There is wind, pieces of ice on the water, and it is dangerous and hard to work in, he said during a press briefing. The authorities have not yet confirmed the total number of casualties, but it is believed that there were no survivors from either the passenger plane or the helicopter. The bodies of at least 18 victims have been pulled from the Potomac River, though authorities have made clear that the recovery effort will continue into the night, and they remain hopeful of retrieving more bodies. The search is ongoing, with divers being deployed to the water to comb through the wreckage of both the plane and the helicopter. Investigations underway. The incident is under active investigation by federal authorities. The FAA and the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, have both dispatched teams to the site to begin a thorough investigation into the cause of the crash. The collision between the two aircraft has raised significant concerns, particularly regarding the potential for communication failure between air traffic control and the helicopter crew. A video clip that surfaced online and was reviewed by CNN purports to capture the air traffic control conversation in the moments leading up to the crash. In the recording, a controller can reportedly be heard warning the helicopter about the presence of the plane, but no response from the helicopter crew is recorded. While the authenticity of the recording has not been verified, it has sparked questions regarding the communication protocols and the decision-making process of the helicopter crew as they approached the busy airspace near the airport. The FAA and NTSB are likely to focus a significant portion of their investigation on this potential communication breakdown, as well as on the procedures in place for deconflicting aircraft in such a high-traffic area. Local authorities have been tight-lipped about the ongoing investigation, as they focus on the recovery efforts and ensure that all necessary protocols are followed. However, it is clear that this crash will likely prompt a review of safety procedures for both military and civilian aircraft, especially when operating in close proximity to busy airports. The victims among the passengers on the ill-fated flight, U.S. Figure Skating confirmed that several members of the skating community were on board. This group included athletes, coaches, and family members who were returning home from a development camp in Kansas. The loss has deeply shaken the figure skating community, with many grieving the loss of friends and colleagues. The names of the victims have not yet been released, but the identities of those on board the passenger flight and the military helicopter are expected to be disclosed in the coming days as next of kin are notified. The crash has brought immense sadness, not only to the families and friends of those involved, but also to the greater Washington, D.C. area and the nation as a whole. U.S. Figure Skating released a statement expressing its deep sorrow over the tragedy. Several members of our skating community were sadly aboard the flight, the statement read. Our hearts go out to the families and loved ones of those lost, and we are working to provide support to our members during this incredibly difficult time. The aftermath following the crash, Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport grounded all flights as a precautionary measure, and the surrounding airspace was temporarily closed to allow for emergency operations. The FAA and local authorities continue to coordinate their efforts to manage the recovery operations and ensure that all safety protocols are observed. The airport resumed limited operations the following day, though many flights were delayed or canceled due to the ongoing investigation and recovery efforts. The impact of the crash on the local community has been profound. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser expressed her condolences, saying, "Our hearts are with the victims and their families. We will continue to work tirelessly to recover those lost and provide support to those affected by this tragedy." The mayor also extended gratitude to the first responders and search teams who have been working under difficult conditions to recover the bodies and provide closure for the families involved. In the wake of the crash, questions are sure to arise regarding the safety of aircraft operating in the vicinity of major airports and military training zones. This incident highlights the critical importance of clear communication and coordination between civilian air traffic control and military operations. As the investigation continues, authorities will likely focus on identifying any systemic failures or procedural issues that contributed to the tragedy. Conclusion: the crash of American Airlines Flight 5342 and the U.S. Army Sikorsky H-60 helicopter into the Potomac River is a tragic and devastating event that has deeply affected not only the families of those aboard, but also the wider community. The recovery operation is still ongoing, with authorities continuing to search for any remaining victims, though the outlook remains bleak. As of now, at least 18 bodies have been recovered, and no survivors are expected. The FAA and NTSB are conducting thorough investigations to determine the cause of the crash, including any potential failures in communication between air traffic control and the helicopter crew. This incident serves as a somber reminder of the risks inherent in air travel and the need for continued vigilance and improvements in aviation safety. As the families of the victims await news, the city of Washington, D.C., along with the rest of the nation, mourns the loss of those whose lives were tragically cut short in this catastrophic accident.